Family takes care of family. My mother said that so often I never questioned it. Growing up, I trusted my parents with everything, especially things I didn't understand yet. Looking back, there was one small detail that should have bothered me, but at 14, I never thought to ask. We lived in a modest house, and no matter how difficult things got, my parents always made it seem like they had everything under control. My father handled the bills. My mother handled paperwork. If a form needed a signature, they told me where to sign and I signed. That was normal in our family. Years later, after I moved out and started building my own life, strange letters began appearing in the mail. Most were addressed to me, but they mentioned accounts I didn't recognize. When I asked my father about them, he barely looked up. Before we continue with this video, please like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell for updates. Probably some mistake, he said. I wanted to believe him. Then one afternoon, my phone rang. The woman on the line said she was calling about an overdue credit card balance, and she asked why I had stopped making payments. I told the caller she had the wrong person. I don't even have that credit card, I said. There was a brief pause before she read the last 4 digits of the account number and confirmed the account was under my name. By the end of the call, I felt unsettled, but I still believed there had to be a reasonable explanation. That weekend, I drove to my parents' house. My mother listened patiently while I explained what had happened. She exchanged a quick glance with my father before smiling. Credit companies make mistakes all the time, she said. Don't let it stress you out. My father nodded. We'll help you figure it out. Their confidence calmed me. For a while. A few days later, I requested a full copy of my credit report. At first, I expected to find a single error. Instead, I found pages, credit cards, loans, accounts I had never opened. Some were years old. As I kept reading, something else stood out. Every address connected to those accounts pointed back to one place, my parents' house. When I called my mother, her reassuring tone disappeared almost immediately. Why are you digging into this? She asked. That question bothered me more than the accounts themselves, because for the first time, it sounded like she didn't want answers. She wanted me to stop looking. I couldn't stop looking after that. The more records I reviewed, the less sense everything made. Account after account showed activity stretching back years. Payments had been made from bank accounts that weren't mine. Statements had been mailed to addresses where I had never lived on my own. Every road led back to my parents. I printed everything and brought the documents to their house. This time, I wasn't asking questions. I wanted explanations. My father looked through the papers without saying much. My mother sat quietly beside him. Finally, my father pushed the stack aside. We did what we had to do, he said. I stared at him. What does that mean? He sighed heavily, as if I were the one creating a problem. There were bills. There were emergencies. The family needed help. My mother quickly added, everything we did was for all of us. For a moment, I almost felt guilty. Almost. Then I remembered something that had been bothering me since I first saw the records. The dates. I went back through the documents and checked the earliest account again. Then I checked another. And another. My stomach dropped. The first credit card hadn't been opened when I was an adult. It hadn't been opened when I was 17. Or 16. According to the records, the account had been opened when I was 14 years old. When I confronted them with that fact, neither of them denied it. Instead, my father folded his arms. You benefited from that money too. That was the moment I realized they weren't sorry. And they weren't going to take responsibility. A month later, court papers arrived at my apartment. My own parents were suing me. They wanted a judge to force me to pay every dollar. The lawsuit spread through the family faster than I expected. Within days, relatives were calling me. Some tried to stay neutral. Others didn't. They raised you. They sacrificed for you. Maybe you should just help them and move on. Very few people asked how a 14-year-old could have opened multiple credit accounts. My parents leaned into that sympathy. In court filings, they described themselves as struggling parents who had supported their daughter for years. According to them, I was refusing to honor obligations connected to debts that had benefited the household. Reading those claims felt surreal. They weren't denying the accounts existed. They were arguing that I should be responsible for them. The pressure kept building. The lawsuit threatened my finances, my reputation, and every plan I had for the future. Some nights, I barely slept. But the more evidence I reviewed with my attorney, the clearer the timeline became. Every major account originated during the same period. Every critical document pointed to the same years. The years when I was still a child. On the day of the hearing, my parents sat across the courtroom from me. My mother's attorney spoke confidently, presenting their case as if the outcome were obvious. Then the judge began reviewing the account records. He paused at one document, looked at the date, then looked up. How old was she when this account was opened? The courtroom went quiet. My mother's lawyer stopped talking. For several seconds, nobody answered. The judge looked back down at the document, then repeated the question. How old was she on this date? My mother's attorney shuffled through his papers. The confidence he had shown all morning disappeared. He checked one document, then another. Finally, he gave a hesitant answer. 14, Your Honor. The judge nodded slowly. Then he started reviewing the rest of the records. One by one, the dates told the same story. The earliest accounts had been opened when I was a minor. Several of the most important debts traced back to the same period. The evidence showed that I couldn't have legally entered those agreements myself. Suddenly, years of confusion made sense. The strange letters, the collection calls, the defensive reactions whenever I asked questions. None of it had been a mistake. My parents had used my identity long before I was old enough to understand what was happening. The lawsuit unraveled quickly after that. The court rejected their attempt to make me responsible for the debt, and responsibility shifted back to the people who had created it. Relatives who had criticized me were forced to confront facts they had ignored. The hardest part wasn't losing my parents' trust. It was realizing I had never truly had it. But when the case finally ended, so did the control those debts had over my life. For the first time in years, my future belonged to me again.